Hello, here I am. Oh, goodness. Every time I come on here, I say I'm going to try to get on more often. But anyway, here it is. It's just the timing of it, so I'm not gonna do that each time I come on as apologize for when I come on. It's just trusting the timing of it. So I think it's been 4 weeks, maybe even more, 5 weeks. I don't even know since I last posted. So last time I posted, it was an intense one for me, because I shared more about my story, and I was up in Washington State at the time. It was in November, end of mid-November, I think. And so, yeah, I shared more of my story. So it was the personal journey part. And what I'll say about that is, what's that phrase that I've heard? Vulnerability hangover. Like sometimes when you really put yourself out there, there can be like fallout from it, right? So I think that's part of what happened over the past month. A lot has gone on for me emotionally, and ultimately it's a really good thing because I feel, each time I've heard this, is it a breakdown or a breakthrough, that it can appear very similar. Can feel like a breakdown at the time, but if you have ways to work with it constructively, it becomes like major breakthrough stuff. So that's what I've been experiencing over the past time since I last left a video. So just logistically, well, as far as that video goes, what came out of that was some really deep conversations that I've had. One was with a woman that grew up in my neighborhood. She and I lived a couple of doors down from each other. She's a few years younger than me, and she watched my video. Hello, I'm guessing you'll be watching this one too. And so she reached out to me, and we got on the phone and talked, and we hadn't, seen or talked to each other probably in, I don't know how many years, between 45 and 50. Hi, Jill. My cousin Jill is here. Hi, Jill. Boy, I would love to be just sitting with you having a cup of tea. Julie's here too. Hey, Julie. So I got on the phone with a woman from my neighborhood who grew up in my neighborhood with me, and we kind of compared notes, and it was like really validating because what she was able to share with me, what she knows about our neighborhood, kind of confirmed some of what I have been remembering. And, it didn't confirm all of what I've remembered, because I don't think anybody can, because, that's sort of the nature of abuse, is it's kept in the shadows, kind of like people that are abusers sort of have an uncanny way of knowing how to keep it hidden, and then the shame piece is there. So as the person experiencing the abuse, you feel ashamed of it because it's shameful, and you take it on. So it's fucked up. It's a fucked up dynamic, and what ends up happening is that those of us that experience things like that, for me, oftentimes it's people have conscious memory of it but feel like they can't talk about it or need to hide it. A lot of addiction comes out of it, and then for people like me, it gets repressed where you don't even remember it. And that's been a journey for me, like when I first started getting these memories back in the early 90s, late 80s, that was also at a time, I don't know if you've heard about false memory syndrome. That was a thing that was coming out at that time, and I kind of bought it. So therefore it turned my memories over, thinking like, wow, this must be fake. These can't be true, because who wants to believe they're true too? So anyway, so this has been a lot of my journey. So having that conversation with the woman that grew up in my neighborhood was so validating, because I didn't have conscious memory. I didn't know what she was sharing with me that she knew about the neighborhood. But there was a lot of sexual abuse going on in that neighborhood, and I would not have told you that was a thing, if I hadn't had all of my memories that were all repressed and fully recovered now. So it's a journey, it's a journey. So that came out, and then I had a couple of other conversations with family members. So what I realize is, despite all the work I've done, I mean, you guys, I've been working on this since the late 80s, early 90s, and I make my living at being a healer and helping people do this process, so this is my life. For 30 years, this has been my life, and, here I am, deep in it, right? And so when you have conversations like that, it brings stuff up, right? It brings really, what it does is it brings up the emotions that were happening at the time that you could not have. You couldn't, in order to survive, you can't be feeling that stuff. So what happens when you have these conversations or things, it brings that stuff up. And so luckily I've got a really, really powerful, wide, broad support network, and also a lot of tools myself from doing this work, so that I'm able to really work that. So that's what I've been doing. And I've been traveling, right. I'm back in Southern California now, staying at a friend of a friend's place. And she's away, so I've rented her place while she's away, and I head out tomorrow. But, so I was up in the Pacific Northwest for a while, went to Reno, Nevada for a week and a half, stayed with a friend. And so what I've been learning about this journey, I thought when I first started out on this back at the end of August that I was, quote, moving out west. And what that meant is that I was going to come out here and find like the place that I was going to move to and like rent a place and settle down in a single place, right? And I thought that there was like a specific place that I was being called to. I was even saying that to people, I feel like I'm being called out there. It's like there's a magnet pulling me out here, and that when I get to that place, I'll feel it and I'll know it, and that's where I'm going to then stay. But what's happening is the more I'm out here and traveling around, I'm realizing that's not what this is. This is about me traveling around and deciding what I want. It's just, it like sounds so simple, but it's so hard for me. And maybe for, that whole question, I offer this to you as a practice, is to ask yourself regularly, and even if you write, if you like to journal with this question, like, what do I want? And then go even further, like, what do I really want? And it gets really powerful, because it confronts you with all the places where, like, you haven't even, I don't know if I never really asked myself that question, but to really explore it, it's really powerful, and it brings up some stuff. So be ready if you're going to take this on. So as I've been traveling around, is this whole thing like, well, what do I want? So I was up in Reno, Nevada, and there was snow moving in. My friend Bryn that I was staying with, she was like, Babs, I'm going by Babs nowadays. That's a whole other thing. There's a storm moving in on Thursday. So I was like, okay, so now I get to decide. And, snow, I grew up in New England. Snow is not a big deal, really. But I realized I really don't feel like dealing with snow right now. So I was like, all right, so I think I'm going to get out of Dodge. And then it was a matter of like, where am I going to go? Where where does the weather feel? What do I want in terms of weather and climate? So I realized I didn't feel like dealing with snow and super cold. So I figured I'll come back south. So ended up back here in Southern California. And, yeah, so it's a journey. It's unfolding, and I'm starting to, I found myself using the language of like, I'm tired from being on the road, and I want to just land someplace for a few months. And so I actually went and looked at a rental, the 2 to 3 month kind of month-to-month thing out in Escondido, which is east of here, and part of me almost wanted to take it no matter what, because I was like, oh, I feel like I need to just take a break, but it just didn't feel right. And since then, I've been realizing, what am I actually saying when I'm saying I need a break? Is it that I thought it meant that I need to just be somewhere stationary for a while? So it's brought up this whole question for me about what is stability. I had a great conversation with my friend Swati today. Like, what is stability? And I thought it meant a stable location, but I don't think it does. I think it's about inner stability. It's about how well I'm being with myself. And, I've been in this apartment that I'm renting now for a week and a half. And you know what? I was saying, I'm tired and I want to land someplace to get my legs back under me. And I was like, I feel like I do. I sort of feel like I have my legs back under me now. And then I was laughing. I was like, you know what? My legs are kind of by definition always under me. So, yeah, so I'm just starting to wonder if this is going to might become more of a mobile lifestyle. I don't know. And what does that look like to conduct a life on the road? I know that's a thing, right? People are doing van life, and I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and she was saying that she had heard about people that live in vans and kind of meet. It's like I don't know if you've heard of conscious communities or intentional communities, kind of like a mobile conscious community where people are doing their thing, but then just meet up every now and then. I was like, huh, how could that work? And then how do I make a living? All of that. So anyway, it's just fascinating how, you go on a journey, you think you know what it's going to be without even really knowing you have that expectation. And then you just let it unfold and all the different questions and thoughts arise. So that's what's happening here. And here we are heading into the holidays and Christmas. And I'm actually going tomorrow, heading up to a retreat center, and I'm going to stay for 2 weeks and do just sort of a personal private retreat. And part of me was hesitant to do that because it can sound like, oh, I'm going to be alone on Christmas, and like it could sound like a sad thing or somehow a bad thing, after a relationship ends and big changes, like, oh, you don't want to be alone on the holidays, right? But I'm really feeling like I just want to be with myself, and I have a lovely invitation I've had a couple of beautiful invitations actually to spend holidays with people, but what I'm really, really looking forward to is, I think, I won't know till I get there, right? But is just kind of being still and quiet, and there's a lot of hiking trails there, and just walking and being on the land. And, I hear, and I've loved Christmas. I've been, what my former sister-in-law used to sort of jokingly refer to me as the Christmas ambassador. So Christmas was always a big deal for me, right? Any of my family that watched this, it's a big thing for me, right? But I've realized that Christmas was like the one day that I let myself pour my heart and all my love into something and express it. It gave me a place to express it. But as I've been growing and expanding more, it's like I feel like I'm expressing that more, so I don't need that one day to focus everything on. So I'm really grateful this year to not be in the Christmas thing. I'm just more connected to the solstice, today being the solstice, and that whole going in here in the northern hemisphere from the dark, it's the longest night, right? So it's the dark. And so I feel like I've been in that personal night. People talk about the dark night of the soul. And I feel the light returning, and it's only through allowing the darkness to be, that the light, it's going to return anyway. The cycles happen anyway. It's just a matter of how you are with it. Do you allow it or do you fight it? Hook, line, and sinker. And then if you fight it, then you don't glean the gifts from it and the medicine from it. So my solstice wish for you watching this is that you just love yourself in all of yourself. The hard stuff, what people would call the darkness. There's wisdom in it, so give yourself rest, give yourself love, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. So thank you for watching, sending you big love, and I will be back with more updates. And happy solstice, and Merry Christmas for those of you that will be celebrating it. And if I don't talk to you before, Happy New Year, going into 2022. Bye.